Hello everyone, welcome back. Is education really a scam? Or has Nigeria simply failed to make education work? That is the question Peter Obi wants Nigerians to confront. At a time when many young people openly question the value of going to school because of rising unemployment, poverty, and the growing wave of migration, popularly known as the Japa syndrome, the presidential candidate of the Nigerian Democratic Congress, NDC, has unveiled what he describes as a roadmap for rebuilding the country. And at the heart of that roadmap lies one clear message: Nigeria will never become prosperous until it begins investing seriously in its people. But can education alone transform a country battling insecurity, inflation, unemployment, and weak infrastructure? Or is Peter Obi asking Nigerians to believe in a vision that has defeated previous governments? Peter Obi released the latest phase of his National Transformation Roadmap on Thursday, expanding on a broader vision he first introduced earlier this month.
Nigerians want to see is a leader who have the competence, the capacity to genuinely start tackling the enormous problems affecting our country, starting from issue of cohesion and unity. We are so divided today as a nation. There's need to bring us together to love and care for each other. Issue of insecurity, to ensure security of life and property. Issue of the economy, especially tackling the unemployment, which is totally at a level that is unacceptable. Dealing with issues of education. Dealing with the issue of power supply, corruption. The list is endless.
While many political conversations in Nigeria focus on elections, alliances, and power sharing, Obi appears determined to shift the debate towards governance. According to him, the country's greatest challenge is not simply politics, but the failure to develop its human capital. He believes that without quality education and accessible health care, every other economic reform will struggle to produce lasting results. In his words, robust human capital is the foundation upon which national progress is built. Perhaps the most striking part of Obi's message was his rejection of a phrase that has become increasingly common among frustrated Nigerian youths: education is a scam. It is a slogan born out of disappointment, reflecting the experiences of graduates who spend years searching for jobs only to find themselves unemployed or underemployed. Obi argues that the problem is not education itself, but the inability of successive governments to connect education with economic opportunity. According to him, education remains the single most effective ladder for upward social mobility and one of the strongest drivers of national prosperity. In other words, the system has failed, not education. But Obi does not stop at defending education. He argues that learning without practical skills is no longer enough in today's global economy. That is why a central pillar of his proposal is technical and vocational education and training, widely known as TVET. According to Obi, Nigeria cannot continue producing graduates whose qualifications do not match the demands of modern industries. Instead, he wants greater investment in vocational training and equips young Nigerians with practical skills capable of supporting manufacturing, industrialization, and entrepreneurship. His vision is to transform Nigeria from what he repeatedly described as a consumption-driven economy into a production-driven economy. That ambition is closely linked to agriculture and local manufacturing. Obi believes Nigeria possesses enormous agricultural potential but has failed to maximize value addition across its supply chains. Rather than exporting raw materials and importing finished products, he wants industrial parks established across the country's geopolitical zones where agricultural produce can be processed into higher value goods. According to him, this approach can not only strengthen local industries but also create employment opportunities capable of reducing youth unemployment and slowing the growing wave of immigration among skilled Nigerians. One of the recurring themes throughout Obi's presentation is the relationship between education and national security. He argues that millions of out-of-school children represent more than an educational crisis. They also constitute a long-term security challenge. According to Obi, many young people excluded from education become vulnerable to criminal networks, violent extremism, and other forms of social instability. His proposed administration, therefore, would establish a dedicated task force aimed at drastically reducing the number of out-of-school children while expanding access to quality education across all regions of the country. Healthcare occupies an equally important position in Obi's roadmap. He argues that education alone cannot unlock Nigeria's demographic advantage if citizens lack access to quality healthcare. A productive economy, he says, depends on healthy people capable of contributing meaningfully to national development. Drawing on Nobel Prize-winning economist Angus Deaton's work, The Great Escape, Health, Wealth, and the Origins of Inequality, Obi maintained that countries achieving sustained prosperity are those that invest simultaneously in education and healthcare rather than treating them as separate priorities. To further strengthen his argument, Obi looked beyond Nigeria's borders. He pointed to Singapore as an example of a nation that deliberately aligned their education system with national development priorities. He also referenced China's transformation under Deng Xiaoping, arguing that education plays a central role in turning China into one of the world's largest economies. For Obi, these examples demonstrate that economic miracles rarely happened by accident. They emerge when governments deliberately prepare citizens with the knowledge and skills required to compete in a rapidly changing global economy. Implementation, however, remains the question many Nigerians will ask. Obi says his administration would work through while strengthening cooperation among the federal, state, and local governments. Primary education, according to his proposal, should be firmly rooted within local communities, supported by stronger parental involvement and curricula designed around local economic realities. At the secondary level, state governments would receive targeted grants and incentives to expand access to quality technical and vocational education. Universities, meanwhile, would be encouraged to specialize in research areas where they can become globally competitive while producing graduates equipped for future industries rather than yesterday's jobs. Still, critics are likely to ask whether these ambitious proposals can succeed in a country facing severe fiscal pressures. inadequate electricity, infrastructure deficits, and widespread insecurity. Supporters, on the other hand, argue that every meaningful national transformation begins with a long-term vision rather than short-term political calculations. They believe Obi's emphasis on human capital reflects an understanding that no economy can outperform the quality of its workforce. Ultimately, Peter Obi's latest roadmap is more than a defense of education. It is a challenge to rethink Nigeria's development priorities. Whether Nigerians embrace the vision or remain skeptical, one thing is certain: the debate has shifted beyond politics. It is now about what kind of nation Nigeria truly wants to become, and whether investing in its people can finally unlock the future that generations have long been promised. If you find this report insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I am Cassie Tony, and many thanks for watching.